The sands of Egypt blew hot across the faces of the Israelites. Years had turned to centuries. The descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, once welcomed and honored guests, had become slaves, shackled under the heavy hand of Pharaoh. Brick by brick, city by city, they built Egypt's glory, but at the cost of their freedom. Their cries of pain and desperation echoed through the fields and up to heaven. Yet, the God of their fathers had not forgotten them. A child hidden from death. Fearing the Israelites' growing numbers, Pharaoh issued a cruel decree. Every Hebrew baby boy was to be thrown into the Nile River. It seemed like hope itself was drowning. But in the shadows, a Levite woman gave birth to a son. Unable to watch him perish, she crafted a basket of reeds, coated it with tar, and gently placed her baby in the river, entrusting his life to God. The basket floated down the Nile until it was discovered by none other than Pharaoh's daughter. Compassion stirred within her, and she took the baby as her own, naming him Moses, meaning
drawn out of the water.
Raised in the palace of Egypt, yet Hebrew by birth, Moses carried two identities, two worlds. But God had a greater purpose for him, one that would take him far from privilege and into the heart of deliverance. Moses' flight and calling. One day, grown and restless, Moses witnessed an Egyptian overseer brutally beating a Hebrew slave. In a moment of anger and justice, Moses killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. Word spread, and Pharaoh sought his life. Moses fled to the wilderness of Midian, trading royal robes for a shepherd's cloak. For 40 years, he lived in obscurity, tending flocks and raising a family. But God was not finished with Moses. One ordinary day, as Moses led his sheep, he noticed something extraordinary, a bush ablaze with fire, yet not consumed. As he approached, a voice called out,
"Moses, Moses."
Trembling, Moses replied,
"Here I am."
God spoke,
"I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt. Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh that you may bring my people out of Egypt."
Exodus 3 verses 7 to 10. Fear gripped Moses. He doubted himself.
"Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?"
But God reassured him.
"I will be with you."
Confronting Pharaoh, "Let my people go." Armed with nothing but faith and a staff, Moses returned to Egypt, joined by his brother Aaron. Standing before the throne of Pharaoh, Moses declared,
"Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go."
Exodus 5 verse 1. Pharaoh scoffed. He increased the Israelites' workload, tightening his grip. But God had already determined the outcome. One by one, he unleashed signs and wonders, the 10 plagues, each one striking at the heart of Egypt's gods and Pharaoh's pride. The Nile turned to blood. Frogs covered the land. Gnats swarmed. Flies invaded. Livestock died. Boils afflicted man and beast. Hail rained down, destroying crops. Locusts devoured what remained. Darkness cloaked the land. With each plague, Pharaoh hardened his heart, refusing to release God's people. The final plague, death of the firstborn. Then came the most devastating plague of all. God instructed Moses,
"About midnight I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son will die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the slave girl."
Exodus 11 verses 4 to 5. But God provided a way of protection. Each Israelite family was to sacrifice a spotless lamb and mark their doorposts with its blood. That night, as death swept through Egypt, it would pass over any home covered by the lamb's blood. And so, the Passover was born, a sacred reminder of God's mercy and deliverance. At midnight, cries echoed throughout Egypt. The firstborn of every Egyptian household perished, including Pharaoh's own son. Crushed by grief, Pharaoh finally relented.
Go, you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord.
Exodus 12 verse 31. The Exodus, a journey to freedom. Under the cover of night, the Israelites departed in haste, carrying unleavened bread and the treasures of Egypt. Generations of bondage ended in a single night of deliverance. But freedom's journey was not without obstacles. As they approached the Red Sea, Pharaoh changed his mind. His army thundered behind them, chariots closing in. The Israelites, trapped between water and death, cried out in fear. But Moses stood firm and declared,
Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord.
Exodus 14 verse 13. At God's command, Moses stretched out his staff. The sea parted, walls of water rising on either side, creating a dry path. The Israelites crossed safely. When the Egyptians pursued, the waters crashed back, swallowing the enemy completely. On the other side, the people rejoiced, singing,
The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation.
Exodus 15 verse 2. Provision in the wilderness. Freedom brought its own challenges. In the barren wilderness, hunger and thirst gnawed at the people. They grumbled, longing for Egypt's comforts. But God, ever faithful, provided. Manna, bread from heaven, appeared each morning like dew, enough for each day. When water was scarce, Moses struck a rock, and fresh streams flowed. By a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, God guided them, never leaving their side. Mount Sinai, covenant with God. 3 months after leaving Egypt, the Israelites camped at the foot of Mount Sinai. Thunder roared, lightning flashed, and the mountain trembled. God's presence descended in smoke and fire. Moses ascended the mountain, disappearing into the cloud. There, God spoke not just to Moses, but to all his people, offering them a covenant.
If you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession.
Exodus 19 verse 5. God inscribed his law on stone tablets, the 10 Commandments, a moral compass for his people.
You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make idols. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony. You shall not covet.
These commands were not mere rules. They were the foundation of a relationship, an invitation to live differently, reflecting the holiness of their God. The golden calf, failure and mercy. But while Moses lingered on the mountain, the Israelites grew restless. In fear and impatience, they convinced Aaron to fashion a golden calf, a god they could see and touch. They danced and worshipped before the idol, forgetting the God who had parted seas and sent manna. Moses descended, witnessing their betrayal. In anger, he shattered the tablets. But God, though righteous in judgment, showed mercy. He invited Moses back up the mountain and renewed his covenant. A nation set apart. From Mount Sinai, the Israelites received not just laws, but identity. They were no longer slaves. They were God's chosen people, carriers of His promise to bless the world. God gave them detailed instructions for building the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary where His presence would dwell among them. Though they faced trials, though they stumbled often, God's patience endured. His desire was always clear, to dwell with His people and lead them into a land flowing with milk and honey. God, the deliverer. The story of Moses and the Exodus is not simply a tale of escape. It's a powerful declaration that God hears the cries of the oppressed, confronts the forces of evil, and delivers His people with a mighty hand. The God who parted seas, who thundered from Mount Sinai, still calls His people today, inviting them to walk in freedom, covenant, and faith.
If you found this video enjoyable, please consider liking and sharing it. Additionally, subscribing to this channel will ensure that you receive more updates in the future. Thank you.